Hello and welcome to our Wednesday session. So we've actually got a whole host of people on the stream. Kinsley, welcome. She just joined. Everybody. How are you?
Hello.
All right, so let me introduce everybody and then walk us through kind of what we're going to be doing this session. So we've got Dan, Gavin, Kinsley, and Leombe here. And two of them are my apprentices. And then we've got two analytics experts here. So Dan, you participated in our challenge, and we're going to be essentially doing like a mock meeting where you're going to be presenting to Kinsley and I the findings from the email challenge. And we're going to kind of role play that. And then after you're done with that, we'll give you some feedback on like how that went, how you might be able to improve. Also, we can do a breakdown of the dashboard that you built, which is looking really, really sleek. So, and then once we're done with that, Kinsley and Dan, you guys are welcome to hop off, and then we're going to jump into kind of the nuts and bolts of how to work through that case study from Excel file to connect it to Tableau and then build out the dashboard. So I'm going to drop the two apprentices, and then just the three of us are going to go through. All right.
All right.
And are you still sharing your screen, or can you go ahead and share it again?
I could share it again for you. Sure. Just 1 second.
So, and I appreciate you being in the hot seat because we're gonna see. So for those of you who are listening, apparently Dan here's got 2 master's degrees.
Yeah, 2 master's degrees in counting.
Yeah. So very, very educated, and one is in a very soft skill, and then one's in analytics. So we were just talking off air about how analytics is kind of the crossroads between hard skills and soft skills. All right, so let me pull in. Well, Kinsley, do you have any thoughts? What are you thinking? You've been real quiet.
Yeah, so the link threw me for a loop. I'm not gonna lie. So that took me a minute. I've been sitting here like 10 minutes ready to go, just looking at that screen. So that's my apologies for not being better equipped. But no, I'm excited. The image that you shared is already very well put together. So I'm happy to dive in and just learn more about the process and ask questions, etc.
Yeah, well, what I think is kind of cool before we get into it is, Dan, you used a PowerPoint slide as your backdrop and then filled in the KPIs on top of that. That's
right.
Why it looks so polished.
Nice.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, you know that I was playing around with that. This is the first time I've used a PowerPoint slide as a background. I learned that when I was actually attending a Power BI training a few weeks ago, and I was like, hey, that's actually a pretty good idea because Tableau, these dashboard objects are kind of hard to add in rounded corners on boxes. So I thought I'd try that out this time, and it seems to have worked. I kind of like what I'm looking at. I put some shadows on the little rounded corner boxes. So I'm pretty pleased with it. I'm sure there's room for improvement, and I'm sure I'll hear that from you both after we look at it a little bit. But yeah, I did use a PowerPoint slide for that background.
So let me let's bring some of the chat in. So by GME, hey, how's it going? Oh, cool. So Mauricio, welcome. Oh, cool. So apparently he participated in the challenge. Mauricio, we're going to be pulling up that post. And also I saw Kadisha Bryan is on here as well. If you guys have anything to show, you can post a link to that. I'll refresh the page, and we could potentially pull up some of your dashboards, and I can give you some feedback. All right, cool. So Kadisha is saying, I think making backgrounds in PowerPoint or Figma is a huge cheat code. So Naveed, my friend Naveed, who's a VP over at Truist, was actually, he came over last night. We were working on my podcast studio, and he showed me Figma. So Figma is like a graphic design interface that you can use kind of like, I mean, Dan, although if this is just a PowerPoint slide deck, it looks nice.
It takes some doing. I saw that Kadisha on LinkedIn. She posted something about putting a PowerPoint slide as your background, and props to her too, because she's been putting some really great stuff out there on LinkedIn as well. But it is a little bit of a challenge with PowerPoint. I had to go kind of back and forth between PowerPoint and my dashboard, back and forth, just to make sure everything was lining up right, because it's the goal is to make it look easy, right? I mean,
Right.
the
Or
goal is
seamless.
to make it look nice and all aligned and everything in its right place. But it took some doing, and probably mostly because it was my first time trying that trick out. But yeah, I'm looking forward to going through it.
All right, cool. All right, so let's just jump into it. So, all right, and scene. I'll let you take over, Dan.
All right, well, thanks for letting me present this dashboard to you. We were tasked with looking at email marketing campaigns from 2014 to 2018. And this dashboard aims to illustrate some of the findings from our analysis. Right off the bat, without filtering any of this dashboard, I want to draw attention to our key findings. We basically found from 2014 to 2018 that evening emails sent midweek performed the best overall. And customer rewards program members click through our emails most often. The highest performing email was sent April 23rd, 2018. It was actually a Monday evening. This was a discount campaign type, 20% off, sent to a target demographic list. And that email actually had a click-through rate of 84.8%. That actual email might have been an outlier, though, because as we go through this dashboard, I'll share with you some of the more in-depth findings, and that's what I hope to see and to show you with these filters that I've applied to the dashboard. Before we actually get to the filters, there are 3 of them. Let's take a look at some of the summative characteristics here. In these boxes on the left-hand side, you'll see total campaigns. There were 482 in these years. Total emails sent, over 908,000. Total unique opens, 225,000. Total unique clicks, 14,500. And we had some bounces, over 110,000 bounced emails. These will actually filter as we click through this dashboard. So let's actually start by filtering by year. In 2014, if we let our dashboard update here, 2014, we had 119 campaigns in that year. You can see some different things happen on the dashboard. I'm just going to filter through each year to see those trends update and change. So 2015, you can still, actually in 2014, you can still see Tuesday and Wednesday popular click-through days. Saturday pops in 2015. In 2016, Saturday is still popular with the click-through rate. Monday's creeping up there. 2017 has us back to Tuesday and Wednesday being popular weekdays for the click-through rate. And 2018, we go back to Monday being popular. And that actually points to that April 23rd outlier there. So we can see that overall, with the click-through rate, for example, Tuesday and Wednesday tend to be popular weekdays for the click-through rate to pop, but there might be some variability from year to year. We can also filter this dashboard showing the different types of campaigns that we had run. So we have awareness campaigns, and for that, let's focus on the click-through rate by campaign type and customer list. So with awareness emails, we can see that customer rewards program members click through the most with those awareness type emails. We have target demographic in second place and the master list at the end. This is kind of interesting. If we click through the discount campaign type, the customer rewards program members are not as likely. They're still leading the pack in terms of click-through rates, but they're not jumping ahead of everyone else as much as they would be with the awareness type. you can see that the disparity is pretty drastic between these two, or but among all of these three customer list types with awareness. Under promotions, again, we don't really have too much difference between customer rewards program members and our target demographic. So I'm hoping to illustrate that as you click through and filter, these overall summative things that you notice are not necessarily always the case. Another way we can filter in this dashboard is by the discount. So this discount filter here shows the different types of discount from these discount campaign types. So with the 20% discount, we can see that customer rewards program members really respond to that. But as we increase that discount, I want to show you that the saturation here changes. So the higher discount we offer seems more to be of more interest to not necessarily the customer rewards program members, but maybe the target demographic or even our master list. Even at 75%, that brings our customer rewards program members back into the fold. Everybody likes a good deal.
Well, actually, so what do you think might be going on there, Dan, with the discount rate going higher and then some of the demographics actually clicking on it less?
It might be that customer rewards program members they are more likely to be offered the 75% rate. They might have access to a higher rate. That seems like a really high discount. It's difficult to say. We might want to look at the text of the actual emails to see what was offered or the terms of those individual emails. That's where more analysis would be kind of necessary, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, so my theory is that you're actually sending a negative signal to your customer base if you discount it too high. Because then it's like, if you're selling clothes, okay, well, this is last year's fashions. We're just trying to dump this out. So it's not trendy. It's not up to date. To where, yeah, I think that, well, let me ask you this. What is the optimal discount rate, would you say, for our target demographic list?
Target demographic.
I may have just contradicted myself. It may be that 75%.
We probably could find it if we were to click through here.
Yeah, let's use this to answer that question.
It looks like 40% might be the one. 20% actually.
Isn't that interesting? From a business owner standpoint, you're making a higher margin and having a higher amount of traction with that email. So I'm starting to interpret it kind of from like the executive frame of mind. So we should be very wary about having a discount rate over 20%.
That's a good point. I mean, we don't want to. People do get a little suspicious. Some of these, I guess the term is price elasticity, isn't always like prices going up and down. Like I think of if someone's offering discount dental work, right? How likely am I to?
So you're getting into like inferior and superior goods, right? But if it's like nails, I mean, nails. I can't really tell you the difference between the highest quality nail and the lowest quality nail. It's going to be I'm going to be able to hang my picture frame, whether I go with one of the cheaper ones. I mean, unless it was like composite plastic or something like that. But as long as it's like a metal nail, I'm not too worried about price.
Right.
But okay, but what's also interesting is that I think discount is a slightly different than price, though.
Well, I mean, yeah,
Kinsley,
I guess.
Kinsley, what's your thoughts?
There's a whole psychology around it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So customers, a lot of people feel bad if they're paying full price for anything. They try to find any discount that they can find.
I was going to say, Kadisha's saying, yeah, when I see high discounts or constant high discounts, I get a little suspicious.
Right. And then when you don't get a discount, it feels like you've been cheated.
Right. Well, yeah, because then you're setting the tone and the expectation that, Like, for example, Udemy is a great real world example of that. Everyone knows that all the courses on Udemy sell for like $10. You see the ticket price of like $129 for a course, but they're constantly running discounts like every single week. It's just pretty interesting because you're like training your consumer base. Kinsley, do you have any questions?
Yeah, no, I thought you made a good point about the type of product that you're discounting, because if you are continually discounting, then you would get suspicious. I think the comment just said the same thing, but you have to ask yourself, am I getting the quality if I'm receiving this at a discount? So I do think that folks are enticed by a 20% discount, but it's not high enough to make them weary of what they're going to receive.
Also, wait. Oh, this is an interesting point. So I love this because we're basically using like crowdsourcing the live stream audience to give you some feedback. And I mean, I guess this is a little bit of a critique. In that filter, did you filter out the ones that didn't have a discount?
So there, you can get to that by excluding the discount campaigns. So awareness and promotion don't offer discounts. So there probably is a way to go into the filter and have 0% off as the filter. I would have needed to update my Excel spreadsheet because I think we had nulls where the discount was non-existent. So yes, there is a way around that, I guess, by only looking at the awareness and the promotion campaigns, because they wouldn't have had any discount at all.
Well, what I'm also thinking too, could you potentially add an alias to that specific dimension? Within Tableau, could you add an alias to that? And then if it's a null value, change that to 0. I'm not sure. That's just like I'm kind of problem solving off the top of my head. It's actually something we could potentially explore later on in the lecture.
Yeah, that might be something to look at. I think the issue would be that it's a measure as opposed to a dimension. I think the discount itself, so the values that are null. But I'm sure in Tableau there's a way to do anything. So I'm sure
you could literally just move it from measure up into dimension. Kinsley, let me know if I'm completely butchering how to effectively use Tableau.
Well, I've been out of the Tableau game for a little while, so this is all new to me too. So I was excited when I saw the rounded corners, and then very interested when I learned that it was a PowerPoint background. So in my time with Oracle, they have their own Tableau equivalent called data visualization. So it has a similar functionality, but it does have different nuances. One of the things that I wanted to ask about is the key findings. I noticed those were contingent on your filters. How did you accomplish that?
Glad you asked, because that was actually a challenge. Maybe I can actually log in and show you.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Sign in here, and we can, if I go into edit it, let's go to the key findings worksheet. So this is a text. These are all of the things included in the text, and if we edit the text here, I can show you. I actually inserted the top 2 paragraphs or sentences are static, but here you can see I've inserted month, day of month, comma, year, a weekday, time of day, campaign type. So all of these little aspects, these are attributes, I guess, of the date and the campaign type and the customer list. I've dropped those into this text box. I also it's a little tricky because this shows you the outline. It shows you the max, the person with the email with the highest click rate, and that's filtered here by date sent. If I edit this filter, I can show you. This is using the top 1 of the click-through rate. And in order to actually add the filters to the context, I just made them filters on the dashboard through a dashboard action, and also added them to the context in the key findings worksheet. So here, if you click on that, there would have been an option to add to context here. And that's basically how you do it.
That was brilliant. I was like, did he write all of these key findings for every scenario that he's going to be filtering to and somehow finagle it in there? So I love that.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That I meant to mention that those key findings do change as you click through. You'll see it down there updating.
I mean, what I like about that is it just adds additional context to the KPIs.
Mm-hmm.
And one, self-criticism from I would offer up is I feel like I should have specified that in the title of the key findings box here to remind people as you're clicking through, as you're filtering the dashboard, these numbers will reflect out of the filtered context what the highest performer was.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. Well, I think that, I mean, I love it. Let's talk about pie charts. Very controversial.
I hate pie charts myself. Yeah. I was very hesitant to use one here.
Well, because I mean, I guess so for the apprentices that are on, a pie chart, generally speaking, is not data visualization best practice because our eyes are not attuned to being able to tell, okay, what's the difference in this angle versus that angle. To where if it were just a bar, we're very good since each of all the bars are lined up in an axis, and we can say, all right, this bar is longer than this bar, and if there's another bar that's close in length, we can kind of see that, all right, well, one's slightly longer than the other, but it's still way lower than that biggest bar. So, I mean, it's a bit of just a style option because I know that a lot of executives still love bar charts, even though it's not best practice. All right, well, you got some fans. So I liked his pie chart. And
well, and I will come to the pie chart's defense in this case because I'm actually not using the pie chart as a pie chart. I'm not using it as a data visualization to actually really show the difference. Here I'm really focusing on it being a filter.
Okay.
So the fact that actually they're all similar size is helpful in this example because it lets you click on each one, and regardless of if you I'm not really interested in how the campaign types or the types of campaigns we have. I mean, it is sort of helpful, but as you click through the filters, if you click through the discount filter, that's not going to change the pie chart because it's just looking at the discount. But if you look at the year, you can see the campaign types aren't really changing too much. And for the purpose of the dashboard, it really was just to be used as a filter. But yeah, I don't like pie charts at all.
Well, I mean, it's
pie in there just to spice it up because you don't want to look totally at bars because then it's just boring. And to that point, like, did you consider any stacked bars? Because when I was looking at the day of the week, potentially layering in the time of day, so you could see like how that correlated with the day of the week and if there were any trends there.
Yeah, I hadn't actually thought of that, but that's a good idea. To look at a stacked bar chart within the day?
Yeah, I don't know how the dimensions are set up in this data set, but if you could overlay that, the time of day, I guess it would be an attribute over the day of the week, and if it would create the percentages that way.
Gavin or Leombe, I'll plug you guys back in. Didn't you guys do that? We showed how to do that. I showed you guys on Saturday. Is that in one of your?
You're talking about the time?
Yeah, so it's a heat map that shows you the optimal time, like the day of the week and then the hour of the day.
Yeah. So, I have that same that data visualization thing pulled up. I couldn't figure out how to do it in the new data because on the Show Me tab it didn't give me the option to pull it, and I'm not sure why. So that was actually one of my questions.
Okay. Well, we can get into that later on in the lecture.
Okay.
And we'll like go through step by step, like how to create and craft that. Because yeah, that personally, that's like an interesting data point that I wanted to look at is what is the best time, like our time slot throughout the entire week to send an email.
If you added that to the stack bar chart, like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, that whole section, wouldn't it look kind of messy if you added times in there? Like, wouldn't it look?
Okay, maybe we're talking. Maybe I misunderstood. I'm talking about building a heat map that gets at what Kinsley said: day of the week and then hour of the day. So maybe I misunderstood what understood what Kinsley was. Kinsley, am I missing? Did I botch that?
Well, I do agree with the point of like the exact time of the day would get a little messy. I was just thinking of the 4 segments of the day. So if you took your early AM, morning, afternoon, and evening and overlaid that on the day of the week, you would have 4 smaller portions of each bar, and you could kind of see your sweet spot throughout the week.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But John David, you were saying that you had a heat map of kind of like this same, a heat map idea of that same concept.
Yeah. So essentially, it's just you'd have every single day of the week, so Monday through Sunday, and then every hour of the day.
Okay.
And then you could see when, like, because basically you're building a matrix, and then the emails are sent and will fall into somewhere, and then you can figure that out. Now, one thing that you have to be careful for, and this is a case study that we actually did with my Greensboro College students last week. It was actually my podcast emails. So I've sent out 100 emails over the last 2 years. And apparently I've only sent out one email on Saturday, and it was an extremely high click-through rate. So they almost gave me a whole recommendation on Saturday's your best day. And then one of the students like had the wherewithal to go back and see like, all right, well, what is the sample size of that? Like, is it significant enough? Because it could have been an outlier. And Dan, you did say something about 84% click rate potentially being an outlier.
Yeah, I had that suspicion. This April 23rd, 2018, Monday evening. Mondays don't tend to be as high performers for click-through rates. And yeah, it still like kind of falls in like the 20% off makes sense. The evening makes sense. But Mondays doesn't make sense in my mind. So just kind of as a sanity check, if I ever see a number that high, I kind of look into things a little bit more deeply, and I don't usually trust things that are that high. And looking, I think there were 115 emails sent in that. This I just remember from analyzing it. 115 actual emails sent with that campaign. It would be helpful, like you said, if you only had one observation on a Saturday, a high click-through rate on that would not really mean as much.
Right. Well, one data point is not necessarily a trend.
Yeah.
It's got to go to a certain direction. All right. Well, I feel like we've done a pretty good job. Kinsley, do you have any other thoughts on like? Well, actually, I do. Let's focus on the actual visualization itself, and then we'll hop into kind of giving him feedback on the presentation style. What I would like to see is a time series analysis. So like, is there, I guess a good high level number would be how many emails have we sent by year? And then maybe you could put a parameter on there and then look at, all right, how many have we sent by year? Or it could actually be a line chart with multiple lines in it. So you can see how many did we send, what was the click-through rate, what was the open rate, and see if there are certain months or time periods where, the different metrics shows something different, because it might show some seasonality within our sales cycle.
Yeah,
I agree.
My thoughts too is as you were clicking through the years, it was kind of hard to remember which one was more successful, and you would want to see that too over your growth with the program, et cetera. Just to see some of that trending in one single view, I think would be very insightful.
Right. And the thing is, you had 3 days. So this is kind of like, this is what it is. Which I guess we can take a poll. Maybe I should give you guys like a week or two, and then we can all come together and like really go into a deep dive on a case study. But maybe this could be like the intro slide, and then you put together a Tableau story, and then go into like, all right, maybe one of the broad questions is seasonality, and you could have a whole dashboard that just looks at that.
You read my mind, because I was thinking that would be the next step I'd actually do, is like dive more deeply, or almost maybe even opposite of how it's presented here. I was hoping to have a time series analysis in there somewhere. And I agree. That would be really helpful.
Oh, we got a question. All right. So he's just saying 1 week. All right. So next data challenge, I'll have to, because what happens is I kind of make all this stuff up as I go. And I'm like, oh, this is a good idea. Let's do it in 2 days, 3 days. So I guess I need to like get a little bit better at planning. But so what she is saying is, what about weighted average to accommodate the different frequencies? Also, is the amount sent equivalent to the amount of subscribers? I can answer that second part. The amount of emails sent is not necessarily equal to the amount of people who have subscribed because of the bounce rate. So the bounce rate is someone deleted their email or their email server's down, or there's a whole host of issues that might happen. So they're going to be approximately the same, but there might be some discrepancy there. So I would look at deliveries or emails sent as opposed to the subscriber list at the time. And then Dan, do you want to answer that first one? What about the weighted average to accommodate?
Yeah, weighted average to accommodate the different frequencies. That might actually work. I hadn't tried that in this analysis, but this is basically my first iteration of this dashboard. So I might actually make some updates and try that out.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you want to take all this feedback and then post it again and tag me, I'd love to, comment on it, boost your signal out there on LinkedIn.
Yeah, I mean, overall, this is a really good data set because it gives you a few different things to focus on. And it was a nice size too. Like it wasn't too large, not too small at the same time. So I'm looking forward to actually doing a little bit more with it when I get some more time.
Yeah, and I thought it was kind of like a bite-sized case study where it's like, all right, here are the 2 KPIs and here like 3 or 4 dimensions. Go analyze it. Dustin was asking, does Silvertone Analytics specialize in digital marketing analytics? I typically work in sales and marketing analytics, but I also do have supply chain clients, and I'll do competitive analysis. So it's kind of like a broad scope, but generally speaking, sales analytics and marketing analytics is right within my wheelhouse. All right, I think we've got. I feel bad because we're having a ton of live chats. So I'm trying not to leave anybody hanging. But well, Kinsley, looks like you've got a fan here. Do you know who this is?
I do. Calvin. You're in the same scholarship program. Go G.
Oh, nice. Cool. All right. So let's hop into, well, do you have any other feedback on the dashboard itself?
My only thought, or question rather, a lot of folks at the executive level tend to lean more towards percentages rather than counts. Was there a reason why you went that direction?
So the percentages of the, you mean campaign types in the pie chart?
Like with the chart, or even like the total campaigns, for example, like that 42, or just like using the percentages, or maybe a potential enhancement could be like when you hover, you can see what percentage of the total data set that represents. So the 42 being the total, and then if you were to hover over a filtered year, then you could see like 2014's number is X% of the complete data set.
In the KPI cards, the ones on the left there, I do tend to put some, usually average or some, as opposed to percentages, because if you don't filter anything, it would just show 100% with just from a single view. It always would just show 100%. But I agree with the tooltip idea. And right now, I actually have a blank object hovering this, so it won't allow anyone to click on it, this little blank object. But if I remove that and add a tooltip like you recommend, that actually, I think that's a great idea.
Also, so one thing, so if you guys are sending links in the chat, I think that they're being blocked, because this is all I'm seeing. If it's someone just said my response to question 2, and then there's no link, look up the LinkedIn post. I've actually got it pulled up right here. I can share I've got it shared right here. So post it here in this post from 3 days ago. Actually, I wonder if I can send. a post in the chat. I wonder if I can do it and you guys can't. See, did that show up? Oh, it's taking forever. Okay, maybe it's being blocked. No, I think it went through. Can you guys see that in the chat? Let me know. All right. So this is cool. So there are people like in real time, like working on the case study and submitting like some of the answers to some of the questions. But let's get back to pulling this in. So you covered kind of the hard skills. Dan, you did an amazing job. This dashboard it's actually probably more stylistic than what I do for my clients. A lot of my clients want just like a real cut and dry, especially like my supply chain clients. They don't care about aesthetics. They want functionality.
Yeah, I
it's
try.
great.
I've been playing around with all these online data challenges on LinkedIn. You have Onyx Data DNA Challenge and the Maven Analytics Challenge. They have these monthly challenges, and I see these dashboards that are just wild. They're like very overblown, and they have all these images and it's almost distracting. I try to keep my dashboards a little more simple, but I appreciate your comments on it, because it's a work in progress for sure.
Yeah, cool. All right, so we covered the hard skills. Now let's get into the soft skills. Kinsley, what are your thoughts? And I love this too because I am in the entrepreneurial space and Kinsley is in corporate. So you're going to get two diametrically opposed perspectives on this.
No, I mean, I thought you were phenomenal. I mean, a lot of folks when presenting, of course, get into just a high speed to where you're tripping over your words, etc. In the moments when, that may have been the case, rather than use fillers or freak out, you just took a beat and, plunged through it and did not mind the pauses, which says that you do have experience, presenting to a crowd. And that was evident. You read throughout without reading each metric, because some folks get glued to the screen and they want to read every single thing from top to bottom. So I appreciated that you hit on the high level points without dragging it out and just spending too much time in one place. So, I mean, I think it was phenomenal.
Thank you.
So I'm actually, Dan, kind of in your position a lot, where you quickly put together a dashboard and you have to present it, because like I'm playing kind of the business owner in this situation. One thing that I do is I make it more conversational. So I'll kind of like lay out the high level points and then let them dig around and touch on things. To where like I kind of jutted in myself and I was like, well, let's look at the discount rate and see which one. To where, and I think you did a good job of kind of scripting it out. And Kinsley, that may be kind of how it goes in the corporate world, but in the consulting world, I'm selling all the time. It's like, what is it? Glengarry Ross, ABC, always be closing. So I've got to make it compelling to where what the risk that you run when you have kind of like a choreographed presentation is that you might lose people. So if you want to make it like a more engaging presentation, just stop talking and then wait, and then they'll start to come in with questions. Or I mean, maybe not just stop. That's like a little bit dramatic, which I've got a little bit of a dramatic flair. What can I say? But you can.
I should mention it's interesting presenting on Zoom, because when you share your screen, sometimes you lose the faces of people on the call. Mm-hmm. And when you do that, you forget that you have an audience there, So like some of that happened to me because I had my screen open and I was looking at my dashboard. But I know that if I was looking at my audience, I would see that feedback and know to like stop and say, hey, check this out, and forgetting that we all have access to click through it at the same time. That's great. I'll use that on my next presentation right away.
Yeah, well, because let's root down on the example of the optimal discount rate. What you're doing is you're using your dashboard to facilitate the answers to the questions that they have about their business. Mm-hmm. So they already and are thinking, because whenever it comes to a business decision, there's a huge amount of uncertainty. So what you can do with analytics is just quiet that noise and lower that level of uncertainty. And it also depends on your level of seniority. Like if you're a brand new analyst, you probably shouldn't come into a meeting talking to your, CEO and say, hey, I've got all the ideas on what you should do for your business. But if you've been with the business for 15 years and they start to see you kind of as more of an advisor, then you can come in and say, hey, here are my theories about what's going on. But you've got to earn that through demonstrative performance and kind of being on the ball for a long period of time before they're going to start kind of getting in that position where you're advising them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think you made a good point about seniority, because obviously if you put this in front of someone of high tenure and they don't agree with what's in front of you, then that could go south really quick. And then I sit in more of a developer or the building of dashboards role myself. So in many cases of what I deploy, it's where an end user comes to us asking for questions about an organization or a piece of the business, et cetera. And we put together what we think they want to see, and it's an iterative process. So it's a little different in my line of work. But to your point, when you do send off that final production and put it in front of someone, it's always helpful to have the questions from an audience that challenge and kind of facilitate the conversation. So you have to be ready for whatever it throws at you, and you have to know the ins and outs and nuances of what you produce, or you're going to end up in a bad spot.
Yeah. Also, too, you did a great job of caveating one of the potential things that really struck out with the this might be an outlier, because the worst thing you can do as an analyst is present data and then give like a very strong business recommendation that's based on some broken data, because then you just lose all your credibility and they've lost trust in you. So I mean, you did a really fine job, like kind of pitting that of like, this may be real, but this is a little bit, and then it's like you're kind of on the same team, like, hey, we're looking at this problem together, as opposed to you're grouped in with that problem. Like you didn't take the wherewithal, you didn't have the due diligence or wherewithal to like go through and like really look through the data through a critical lens, and because you want to be the front lines of like potentially spotting these issues before they come up and get hoisted up to management or middle management or even senior level.
Yeah, it's interesting because the way we present information these days, the audience is able to interact with it. So I think of PowerPoint presentations. You stand up in front of an audience, you have sole control of your PowerPoint. No one can change. People can't click through your PowerPoints for you. So presenting with the dashboard and then having your audience, giving access to your audience to your dashboard, it's a little unnerving, because they can reveal things in your dashboard that you didn't know yourself. So I'm still trying to get used to that dynamic between dashboard presenter and audience.
I mean, it's kind of something that I'm working through on my end too, of just being grounded. So like you get some chaos thrown your way, and instead of instinctually, gutturally just responding to it kind of spastically, taking a breath and responding. And you can always say, I don't know, or, hey, I'll look into that. Like you don't, if you're kind of stumped and you get thrown a curveball, I mean, best thing to do is keep your composure as best you can. And then, actually, I think it's better to say, I'll look into that, rather than I don't know, because then that kind of makes you look a little bit incompetent.
Yeah, the key is, let me circle back to you.
Right. Yeah, Kinsley's got all the corporate jargon. All right, so I think we've got a question here from by GME. Question: is the left column necessarily that display the total of campaigns when compared to the information on the left? I'm asking because I'm wondering if it's too much. So the on the left was the KPIs, right, Dan?
That's right. I can share that again if you want, but that's right. The left had those KPI cards, and that included all the totals. And I'm not sure if it's necessary to have those in every single dashboard. I kind of tend to put them in mine. I feel like it sort of grounds the analysis. It gives you a sense of how large your sample size is, and the scope of your filter, for one. If you're filtering things down to the nitty gritty, it's kind of a helpful reminder that you're only looking at a few records. But
Right.
I tend to put those total KPI cards on my dashboards. I can see where they might not fit in every single situation, though.
Kinsley, what's your take?
I like the reminder too, especially if you're using filters, because when I was doing a comparison between the raw data just to kind of ground myself in what we were going to be talking about. And I didn't realize that the image from LinkedIn was filtered to 2014. And I'm like, wait, these counts, like I'm not following where the counts are. So it's very easy to get lost when you don't have that constant reminder. So I think it's very important to have the triggers to some degree, because even though the filter was at the top, because it was in the right corner, my eye didn't immediately flock there. So having something on the left side as an indicator is helpful.
So my take on it is that I think KPI cards are vital, especially if you're talking to upper management, because your C-suite, they're dealing in high level numbers, and they're only, and I think this is kind of a good methodology of keep it high level, and then if something looks off, then drill down into it. Now, if you're analyzing like very specific things for, like, I don't know, specific projects, or like most of the work that I'm doing, I'm presenting to presidents of companies, CMOs, CEOs, COOs, and they want to know the high level numbers. So like, for example, if it's the sales department, they want to know, am I hitting my quota or am I not? And then if they're not, then they're going to go down and look at the visualizations and say, all right, well, what's going wrong and where can we intervene? So for example, like they could start to exacerbate some of the positive trends and then kind of mitigate or lessen some of the negative trends that are going on in their data. All right, cool. Well, I think we've kind of beat Dan up enough. This was awesome.
This was awesome. Yeah, I really appreciate it. It was a great experience going through the data set and getting your thoughts. I'm going to circle back to it and get some time series analysis in there, maybe some tool tips on the KPI cards. And I was thinking about that heat map idea, and just all these different ideas are really great. So I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, well, you just made my job as a professor here so much. I'm figuring out ways to just offload all the work. And you just thanked me for doing my job. No, but I think this is a really cool way of educating, where it's like, here's a case study, you go at it. Shashank Kalanithi said something really interesting on his podcast episode on how to get an analytics job. He said, you don't get paid to solve the problems that have already been solved. So what I'm doing is I'm just posing problems, not solutions. I think, because Dan, you're in the higher education space. Most lectures are kind of like, here is the capital T truth of what's going on, to where I'm like, I don't know this, I don't know that, I don't know that. You guys go figure it out and look into this for me. And then I think that's how learning, at least in the analytics space, happens. Because I mean, I turned my last internship into my first consulting client, and that's the most learning I've done. It's just, I mean, that talking about trial by fire. I mean, I was either figure this out or you don't get paid, which is not advisable for most people. It was extremely stressful.
Yeah, well, I think you made a good point too in the analytics space, that you're always learning from one another. So there are tips and tricks and styles and flair that some folks use that you may not even think about. So for instance, like the key findings at a glance, I would have never thought to go as in depth as to do that. So now if I get back into the Tableau space, it's going to be one of the first things I do, because so much of the time spent is creating those high level overviews, and you've created an automated way to do that. So I always love the information and the knowledge sharing, because you don't know what you're missing out on until you see these opportunities.
Right, because you did a fantastic job of essentially building out an infrastructure. So you crafted it in a way that the end user can go in and dig for their own insights. Mm-hmm. So instead of just having a static key findings, they can go through and toggle, and then you just highlighted it all. It's fantastic.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I will share, once again with the group, I've been following Onyx Data DNA challenges. That's a really, really, really great opportunity to look at something every month. And then Maven Analytics is the other place I frequent. So go check those guys out, and storytelling with data is another place to get some experience visualizing stuff.
Yeah. We just had John Poller, who's the chief marketing officer over at Maven, on maybe 3 weeks ago on the podcast. Yeah, they're really good people. Awesome. Well, you guys are more than welcome to stick around, but we're gonna get like into the weeds of like building out this case study, because I know my two apprentices have some questions about. Well, I don't know. I have no idea what it's going to be thrown at me right now. But you guys can hop off, or you guys want to stick around. I think it's about to get a little bit drier than what Dan just did. So we're gonna be getting pretty deep into it. So all right, I know
Liam. I'll stick around. I don't mind. I've got nowhere to go.
Liam Bay, who looks like Mr. Robot right now. He's cracking me up. It's like a dimly lit room. Liam Bay, I know you had. What's your specific question about Tableau? Wait, I think, are you muted?
Yeah, I'm muted. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, my question, Gavin answered it, because I was trying to get all of the days, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the full week. And I was trying to get it by month, but I didn't know how to do that. I was trying to get the days and the months.
Okay. Let's look into it. I will pull
Gavin
up.
showed me, so I think I do have a question though.
Okay. What is it?
One of my batteries running low. Hold on. I have to go get my charger. Hold on.
Liam, you're a mess today. Gavin, what did you show him? You can share your screen.
Okay.
And I will say the way I did that with my dashboard was probably not best practice. I ended up doing a bunch of string manipulation, like saving the date as a string and then taking out pieces of the date and then creating a new column that just showed weekday and then month. There's probably a better way to do that, and I just did not.
Interesting. Well, so what I can do, Gavin, I'm kind of curious for you to show. Well, Liam is not here. I hear he's coming back now. I wasn't quite sure what his question was when he texted it to me.
Okay. I don't know what screen you can see right now.
Here, I can see it. Yeah, so this is what I showed you guys on Saturday.
Right. So I had an issue with, and maybe I didn't do Tableau Public. I did the trial thing, so this may have thrown me off or something like that. But let me actually move this. So again, very basic. I looked at Dan's while he was going through, and I was like, Jesus. I gotta look.
Well, I did that on purpose because I want you guys to see like where this can go, and it can give you some like inspiration and some ideas on like how you might want to slice through the data, and then what's the thinking behind that.
It's so intimidating.
So yeah, honestly, Dan, that was very good. That was cool to look through. I'm gonna play with this a little bit more. So I went through this right here, but as you were saying, the heat map thing. So when I tried to toggle over to heat map, this is what I kept getting, and I don't know why. I don't know what I need to adjust to get it back.
Okay, so change it to wait, go back.
Okay.
So in the Show Me tab,
Mm-hmm.
change it into that far right, upper right, that one. Change it to that, and then pull time back into rows. So now this is kind of interesting. Now you're saying hour of the day by year. This is not what like we had initially planned. Also, I would switch it so that so it goes taller. So this is saying what hour of the this is like a Bob Ross moment where it's like this is like a happy little cloud. But what this is showing us is that it is shifting year by year what is the optimal time to send an email out across a different day.
Mm-hmm.
What you could do is just hit the drop-down menu on year, up in the columns, hit that drop-down menu, and then just change that to go down lower, 2 more, hit that, where that pops out, and then go to day of the week. It's so small on my screen, I cannot see it. There you go.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then also too, I think Leombe asked, how can you see it by month? You could add a month filter in there.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Or
didn't-
actually that's a completely
Wait, whoa! How do you do that?
I'm doing too much at this point. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so no, drag month into filter, and then you can look at the different and then month, and then hit all, and then okay.
Okay.
And then
go
hit
ahead.
show me. Hit show me on the filter month filter. Or not show. Hit the drop down menu on that pill. Like the drop, there you go. And then click show filter. Not show me. Yeah, and then it should be over underneath. Roll up the show me tab. Now it should be there. There you go.
Gotcha.
And then you can change the UI so you can just toggle across different months.
Gotcha.
So Dan, this is kind of what I was talking about. Like not necessarily the month filter, but and what do you guys think? Is that too granular?
Yeah, it's very granular.
It would be hard to put that on a dashboard, just because it takes up so much space.
Mm-hmm.
The marks actually kind of make it. They give us more information than we actually need. And with the heat map, the saturation tells you a lot. If we're looking for the peak time and day.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. All right, so
Okay.
Actually, Dan,
with the hours, could you group those into the early AM, morning, afternoon, evening? If you were to select.
All right, that's a challenge for you, Gavin.
Yeah.
How would you do that? How would you group?
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Dan, I bet you know how to do it.
With Tableau, I'm always backing into solutions. So if I were to try this, I'd probably try to select the hours, like click and drag and select the hour of day. I guess it's hour of day, that column on the left, the header.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, right here.
All right. I've got the way that I would approach it would be different, but I'm curious to kind of let this breathe and see if you're going to do it differently. So you're saying click and drag the hours?
Yeah, I don't even know if it would work. But I was trying to basically select certain hours and then group them together.
That's a question.
Create a group of hours. That's not how I did it when I did my dashboard, but that's what I would try.
Kinsley, you're the resident Tableau expert. What should we do?
I'd like, that's what I would do too. If you were to do like control and then click on 4, 5, 6, would that highlight the 3 of them together? And then if you right click and then does it give you the group option? Okay, so maybe in this view it doesn't, but you could do this in another tab or canvas if you were to throw that metric on a solo view, if you will. I think you could group it there and then replace your metric with your new grouped metric.
Hey, I'm gonna have to pull you guys over so I can see better.
Why does it start at 4?
Because there is no email sent out at 1. Do you, Leon, let me ask you this: do you open up your 2 a.m. emails?
No, but
That's
I was wondering because that's what I did a graph it's nothing like this, and mine it's like 1, 4. It skips 2 and 3 for some reason, and I was wondering why.
Yeah, because there were no emails sent out at that. I mean, there's 24 hours in a day. It looks like we're not sending out any emails at like, what is that, 9 a.m. or something like that on. Man, I just pulled into my bigger screen and it's still like really small resolution. Or it's bigger now, but it's green, super grainy. Okay, there we go. That looks quite a bit better. But yeah, so like Wednesday at 9 a.m. it looks like we didn't have anything. All right, we're neglecting our chat. So what do you guys think of this? What about including a year filter? Is this view useful as it has all years? That's a good question. What do you guys think?
I think a year. I think a quarter filter would help.
A year, quarter.
Yeah, we can do that.
I think the issue with that, Kinsley referred to, it's difficult. You don't see all of the quarters compared to each other without filtering piece by piece. But yeah, I think you would see something different between each year, most likely.
Okay, let's try.
Maybe quarters too granular. Oh, okay.
I just realized I'm gonna have to research how to group by time. So I'll show you guys. It's easy to create groups within here. I can just bump you for a second.
Okay.
And I don't know why it looks like a geriatric computer where it's like super big. But you can just hit the drop down menu and click create and then group. And then right now it's showing the granularity of each individual day. But I'm wondering how we can slice into that. That's a little bit more complex than I was thinking. And the thing is, I don't want to get down a super boring rabbit hole that's like really tedious, and then just everyone's like snoozing.
Yeah, I tried that too in Tableau, and I ended up doing it in Excel in just a really dirty, ugly way. Like, not something I necessarily do again.
Actually, let me.
What was so on the view before you bumped him? What metric was on the column?
It was the same time sent, but it was the weekday. We adjusted the filter to the weekday or the format.
Okay. Because maybe it is because it's pulling. I guess if it was like a single variable, then you could do the grouping, like I was thinking. But like if you were to duplicate this sheet and then get rid of everything except for the hour time spent, I'm curious if that would allow grouping.
Okay. How would I'm not familiar. How would I duplicate the sheet here? Copy.
At the bottom.
If you right click down at the bottom, give you that option to copy. How
about that?
All right, cool.
All right, and then remove that.
So no, keep that one and then remove everything else. This may not work, but and then and then even if you wanted to remove the averages, because I just want to look at the hours and see if it'll give you the 4, and then from there, would it allow you to select like 4, 5, 6 and group those? Still didn't. Okay. Interesting. Thanks for trying that for my curiosity.
No worries. Okay.
Wait, I had Excel pulled out. So Dan, did you just do like within Excel? Did you just do write 4 or something like that?
I think that's what I did. Yeah, there was a whole bunch of stuff that I did because I pulled out the month, the day of the month, the year, the time, and I put them all into separate columns actually. And it was I used a little bit of right, some left, some trim. It was more operations than it really should have been, but it's what I ended up doing just to get the job done.
Yeah, well, I mean that's actually an interesting conversation to have, because so instead of trying to really like advance your level into Tableau and like spend 2 hours researching how to break down the granularity of the time date within Tableau, what you could do is just pull the data in a different way. Why is this not showing up?
Yeah, there are a number of different like factors into a decision like that. If it's just a one-off dashboard, then that is harmless. But if you're dealing with an iterative series of dashboards, you don't want to have to do that legwork every single time.
Right. So well, I mean, what you could do is just change the way that the database is structured. Or actually, I mean, I've done this with one of my clients that I've been consulting with for like 5 years, where we literally have like an Excel file that does calculations that are really complex and I don't fully understand. And I just import a file, it runs out calculations, and then we connect to another file, which I know is like not ideal. But yeah, I've got it right here. So what we could do potentially is just add in equals, is it right? Is that, is
Yeah,
the
you'd have to
spaces
get the
count?
space in there. The spaces count. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
This is an interesting problem. So
Yeah,
so if
we
we
have to go-
do 8, will that work for 11? You see where it's like, what did that just do?
You're calling to A instead of A1
Oh,
and
gotcha. Right.
So what I think, if I'm remembering what I did correctly, I ended up doing this, and then I also did left trim on
Right.
the single digit hours. Like
And
I
then-
said, it wasn't pretty.
And then equals left. This, that'd have to be what, 5?
Or you could clean or trim that column maybe.
Yeah, just trimming it should get rid of that leading space.
Hey, I think we got it right here. So yeah, this is how, and then what we could do is pull that into Tableau and then group them based on, all the like 5, like what is it? 1 a.m. through 11 is morning time, and then 12 to 3 is noon. It was like lunchtime.
You just don't want to
So-
lose your AM PMs though.
Why'd you?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, how would we do that? Okay.
So Kinsley mentioned you could clean or trim that like C2 right now, the 555. If you run instead of left with the arguments of B2 and 5, it would be trim B2, and that should actually remove the leading space in B2. So just the trim function, I think.
Yeah.
There, yeah.
Okay, but will this show up as an effective time in Tableau? I guess we can just test this out.
And I don't remember if I got into this crazy other way you could do it, but you could technically split off the last 2 characters of that time into a column for AM, PM, and then
Oh, that's true.
the data even
Yeah.
further. If it doesn't work, yeah.
All right, my computer's freezing up. It's saying not responding. I think that it's the Excel gods telling us this is not a good idea. We shouldn't be doing this. All right, so we got this. Let's then do file. I don't know why this looks so goofy. It's like so big. Like, I don't know if you guys have old parents, but my parents' like cell phone is like, it's like a jitterbug. It's like all the characters are massive. All right, why is it not letting me do anyone? All right, it's just taking some time. Let's see. You can use plus. You can click plus, use control in the individual hour and group them. Okay, she might have just figured out the way to do this. Gavin, can you try that solution on yours?
Okay. So what'd you say? Control.
Use click plus use control on individual hours and group
control
them.
click.
Yeah, control click. See what happens. Did that break? Oh, that broke it down into minutes.
Yeah.
But wait, here, click on each one of those individually, or like click on 4, and then control, and then try 5. And then, okay, so we got here before, right? Is that a group icon? I'm like
That
having a
is
hard
a
time.
set icon. Create set icon.
Oh, set. Gotcha. All right, my Tableau is being weird. Where is it? So is that? All right, my computer's going like insane. I don't know. I can't even like look at what I'm dealing with here. Oh wait, there. It just changed. It was. All right, so let's connect to this. This is what I'm dealing with. I can't even get to Excel. All right, so that plan has been extinguished. All right, well, we can do. Let's pivot this because we're getting like way off into the weeds, and I'm afraid that we're being 10 people are watching live right now, so I guess this is interesting enough. Let's pivot into time series analysis because and Dan, I'll kind of let you lead the lecture. Like, how would you analyze the time series stuff? Because you said that you were going to be working on this, so let's just work on it right now.
Yeah,
And then,
I would. I looked at some things. Generally, we want to kind of go into it, funnel down. We have 4 years, 5 years to work with. So I would start by looking at years and see if there are any interesting trends, and then depending on how we want to. Well, the thing is, when I'm creating visualizations, I'm actually finding things I want to show. So a lot of the time I'm playing around in Tableau, and then I'm like, oh, actually, that looks interesting. Let's delve a little more deeply. So I would start just by the year, maybe by the quarter, just go down a little further, and then find all of the little metrics that you're interested in, and visualize them, usually with a line chart or an area chart, maybe.
so you're talking about like essentially like exploratory analysis.
Yeah.
So you're just exploring. Do you want to do it? I mean, you can share your screen and like, because I think it would be beneficial for Gavin and Leombe to see how you think about using data.
Sure. Let me pull that back up here.
Leombe, you doing all right?
Yeah, I'm doing okay.
You're just staring off. Are you tired? You tired?
No, I'm not tired. I'm just
You need a snack.
I'm just paying attention and like trying to figure out how I would do things because this is a lot. I'm not that technical at all. Like,
You need to stop saying that. You're over the last 5 weeks, I've seen you go from like not touching Excel to where you know how to do pivot charts, you know how to build a data model in Power BI, you now know Tableau, and are starting to build out visualizations. So
yeah,
it's no longer true that you're not technical.
okay. Right.
You're more technical than like 99% of people at this point.
And John David, we actually talked about that in our analytics panel. Like, I would not define myself as a technical person, but I've had several analytics roles. So I don't think you have to be, well-versed in everything. You just have to have the curiosity and the appetite to learn and to Google and to figure it out along the way.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, also too,
oh, sorry.
The imposter syndrome is a lifelong struggle for a lot of people. So you just got to keep pushing forward. Yeah, but Dan, sorry, you're going ahead.
I was going to say, I'm just more to that point. There's you learn the most just from playing around. At least I do. I've logged back into my Tableau public profile, and the way I would do the time series analysis is just grab some time series data. You can see these dimensions that I had added to the data set, but if we just look at date sent, I just double click that and put that in there, and then we can look at bounce. Well, not bounce rate. Click through rate.
Is that formatted as a date though?
It's
no, it's not.
So
yeah.
Let me see if we can.
He has the year.
Yeah, let's take a look at it. Let's have Tableau. I'm gonna like that.
Well, all you have to do is just click that icon that says ABC next to it and change it to date.
Okay. Yeah, I need to write that down.
You see that? Yeah, click right there. That ABC.
Take everything out first and
then change it to, I think it's date and time. Or you can do it there too. Yeah. Now it's got that date icon.
All right. So let's try this. It doesn't want that. Okay, so and this is set up as actual years. That's fine. It's kind of interesting. This is the sum of the click-through rates. Maybe not. We don't want the sum. Okay, that's kind of interesting. I mean,
can you change the percentages?
I was about to say, Leon Bay, I want you to interpret this. What is this telling us?
That from based on his data set, I can't really. Based on his data set from 2014, can you change the percentages to actual?
Do you mean like the actual format of this number to a percentage?
Yes. So it's easier for me to read. All right, so from 2014 to 2018, your click-through rate was going up. It went up, then it took a dip in 2016, kind of, and then went up again, and then it's taking a dive in 2018. And I would need more analysis to understand why. Like maybe you didn't send out that many emails in 2016, or maybe you sent out more emails in 2017, or maybe the sample size of 2017 is small, so it's skewing the data. So I don't know.
Well, we talked about this on Saturday. Like, what is click-through rate an indicator of?
So the body of an email.
The body. So so there's two KPIs in this case study: open rate and click-through rate. Open rate is your subject compelling, and is it on brand with or resonating with your email list? And then once they click that email, then they see the body of your email. And then the click-through rate is if they then go and click either a video or a link to a landing page or buy a product. So that's your click-through rate.
Okay. And your click-through rate, for 2007, for 2017, like you would need more analysis to understand why that's your highest year. Where it's at,
you're getting some pushback. So dive is well, I'm like hovering my mouse over it, thinking that like I'm teaching you guys, but I'm not controlling the mouse right now. So it didn't actually take a dive in 2016. It just was increasing at a lower rate, and then from 2016 to 17, then it kind of accelerates.
Okay.
So we had the highest. Another way of framing this, and you don't necessarily need like a more details. Like this is enough for you to come up with an insight. So simply put, in 2017, we did a better job of writing the bodies of our emails than we did in last year in 2018.
Wouldn't you need to?
What?
Go ahead. Wouldn't you need to know like your sample size, like who you like? It would be it's different if you send it to 10 people in 2017 and majority of them click through versus maybe in 2014 you send it to a larger sample size and then maybe out of that sample size I can't tell, like 6%, 5%.
So we're looking at rates, which is an average. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Did you add, is that number sent?
That is total sent onto the label. Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha. So Kinsley, I want you to answer this question. At this scale, do you think it matters whether we sent 20,000 more or less? Do you think that's going to skew the average that much?
I don't think so. But again, I think it would depend on the other variables as well. So you'd have to put in the discounts, and you'd have to understand, like, if you had 20,000 more, but they were all at your 20% discount, which is more favorable, that might have a bigger impact. But the 20,000 blanket, I don't think would.
That's an interesting kind of lane to go down, because you can make the argument that the 20% discount is part of the body of the email. You see?
Okay.
Or like the difference, because I mean, when you're writing like the email, you're gonna say, "Hey, click this link for 20% off, or 15 or 30% off." So that would kind of go in there as well. But you're right. There could be, what is it, covariates? Like there could be other things that are changing and shifting. For example, maybe in 2017 we had a really good economic time, and people were just buying more then, so they're more willing to buy.
Wouldn't that be like an external factor?
Right.
Like,
That's what am I using covariate wrong? It's like it's causing the variation along with the key thing, the body of the text that we're kind of thinking about.
All right.
So yeah, it would be an external factor.
And would you also need to consider your price? Like, did your prices raise? I mean, granted, it wouldn't necessarily, but some folks may have dropped off because you raised your prices and they're not interested anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
to consider. So it's difficult. The other thing I think that would be really interesting in the data set is to potentially, like, I don't know if this is possible, but the subject, like if you could get that, like what the subject of the email was and do some text analytics to see what your buzzwords were.
Right.
To see like maybe how that's impacting the trend. If you put the percentage in the subject or if you put discount in the subject, how that
we can do that with my Silvertone emails. That's actually the case study I was studying the past 2 weeks with my Greensboro College students, where you actually have the subject as one of the data points. So we can group. Well, actually, let's kind of talk through how would you analyze that at a high level.
With the subject of an email.
Let's say that we have 200 emails and we have the subject line for each one of them. How would you go about actually uncovering insights within that data point?
I would probably do some market research to see what were the trendy words. If we were using them, I would assume that you based your subjects on things that were buzzy or trendy. So, and then maybe use, like, getting a little technical, but using the contains feature within Tableau to say if it contains this, then you group it together. And then that's how you can create your segments and see which one was more successful over that time.
So you can see trends in words.
So if your subjects contained like discount or X%, you could kind of group that, and then you could see how that performs against emails that do not contain that information.
Okay.
So you would have to do legwork and grouping and kind of have to look at, if I'm thinking like if you were to cleanse the data in Excel, you could, use contains or even in Tableau, but start your grouping that way and see which words were more popular if there was an impact on the verbiage selected, etc.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I can pull up I'm going to pull up my email and marketing data, and we can take a look at it. Because I grouped it by here. Let me add this in here. So I could pull the data, but I mean, let's just look at this from a high level. So I have this grouped by apprenticeship. So what'd you say? The buzzy word? The buzzword. The buzzy word. The buzzword is apprenticeship. Like I'm mentioning that, and you can see. So when I launched this, because this is kind of a new type of program. Like there's not. I mean, Dan, you're in the higher education space. Have you ever heard of a business apprenticeship program?
I've heard of like cohorts of business administration students, MBA students, like working in groups to help a business, but not specifically by this name.
Right. So, but people understand, like, Kinsley, get into your concept of like keywords. People saw this and they were like, wow, this is a new interesting idea. And I mean, the click-through rate, we had 65 people click on it, to where look at all the other click-through rates, like 1.7, 2.4, 1.2, 1.6. People are just interested.
Makes it sound much more hands-on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And people want that.
Right. And well, so
subjects we're looking at, so like GSO Apprenticeship 3, is that the subject of the email?
So we can pull this up. That's my label for it.
Okay.
But here, man, how can I look at that details? So the subject line was Tableau Public.
Okay.
To where you're absolutely right within the really high click-through rates. And I've got to be careful because I'm going to wear it out if I do it too much. If they get 3 emails about my apprenticeship program every week, they're going to say
subscribe.
Yeah. But you can say like the subject line here was analytics apprenticeship announcement. And that one, I mean, that's the click-through rate on that. So we're looking at like 20%, 20%. I mean, look at how much higher that is. 48%. So of the almost 1,000 people that I have on the list, 48% clicked on it. And this one, I think, mentions apprenticeship in the subject line. Wait, is that? Wow. I guess not. It's just the analytics office hours. Is that the right one? Did I click on the right one? That feels wrong.
Well, you had.
Oh wait, that one is low. That's okay. Actually, so Gavin, I want you to interpret this. What does this mean when we have a 50% open rate but a 2% click-through rate?
So the body of the email, whatever you were selling, comparative to what the subject line was, is not aligning. Either that, or they've seen whatever's in that email more than one time. Is what I was saying.
So here's a subject line. Join us now for live analytics Q&A, and then we can see. Here's the text. Oh, that doesn't tell us anything. Oh yeah, let's read that. Here it is. Oh, I just sent it's just a video. I didn't have any text in it. So maybe that's where I messed up.
I would, yeah, because I mean, I don't know how many times that you sent like something similar to this, like the body of this or something like that. But I mean, I would assume, depending on who's on this mailing list, it may show up kind of like spam. With nothing in the body or something like that doesn't really describe it. I'm kind of wary on clicking on random videos and things like that. But that's just my,
Okay, so these were the two. So this one had a 38 and a 6.5, and then a 28 and a 5.1. So that buzzword seems to really be resonating with people, which is good news, because I'm like feeling a little bit vulnerable in that like this is a complete blue ocean. Like nobody's in this space right now, and I can't tell if it's because I can't tell if there's a reason for that. Am I just being dumb? Or overly confident, I should say.
Well, too, folks may associate apprenticeship with internship or job opportunity. So there could just be just the appetite to learn more. So it, when you figure out, it is a program or whatever the case may be, I would be interested to see how those, your performance in the program, like years time, I want to see those trends.
Yeah, that would be really interesting.
Kinsley and Dan, I have a quick question, actually. Because we're going through this. Tableau is honestly a lot more easier to kind of move through and stuff like that. Do you find that kind of your day-to-day, you see more or work with Tableau more than Power BI? Power BI to me kind of feels like Windows 98 just as far as moving through it. So how much do you actually use that on the day-to-day, or have you seen that?
I've never used Power BI. I have zero Power BI experience.
Okay. Wow.
And I've never really used Power BI in the workplace, but I know people do. I've looked at different positions that ask for Power BI as a primary skill set. I'm more comfortable in Tableau just because I've been working in it longer. It doesn't seem to be too much different though from Power BI. I've sat in on some trainings on Power BI, and it's got that Microsoft coding on it. I don't know how to explain that, but it's I think that's
it's just aesthetically dry.
Yeah, I mean I think there's purpose to that, so it can interface well with Excel. I think that's the biggest thing about it. But I usually work in Tableau. I try to work in Tableau as much as I can.
Cool.
Gotcha. Gavin, was there two parts to that question or just one?
I think they answered both. Yeah, I was just very curious and stuff like that.
Yeah, me too.
Because I picked this up a little easier.
I always have students ask, what is the most valuable tool to learn? And I think it just depends on the industry that you're going into, the company. Like some companies will pay for one software over another. Some are just like live and die and breathe by one particular software. So it's always a good idea when you think about, widening your tool belt to see what type of industry you want to go into and what's most popular in that space, and then kind of craft your learning around that. So for instance, I went from using Tableau at VF Corporation, and then I started working for Oracle, and I mentioned that they have their own data visualization tool. So those skills can be transferable, but just because you can utilize one in one space doesn't mean that it's going to be available. So you have to continue to have that appetite to learn and learn to apply those skills in more than one software platform or tool.
Was it easy for you to pivot?
It wasn't like the semantics of the tools and the functionality were similar, but there were pain points in comparing. You're like, oh, I could do this so easy in this way, or you just kind of get married and married to what you're used to, right? It's that comfort zone. So it was just challenging to not have what you were used to, and to be like, there's an easier way out there, and just be forced into using something different.
Gotcha. I got a me question. Have I noticed a increase in my YouTube analytics? YouTube is like maintaining pretty steady for me. I'm getting about 300 new subscribers a month at this point. So apparently this person, okay, so they were on the last live stream. Cool. So, and I think you, Kinsley, I think you just kind of answered this question. Tableau or Power BI or just a user preference? I guess it wouldn't be a user preference. It would be company preference. Whatever.
It could be both, I guess. If you start in Tableau, just kind of playing around. The Power BI is free access. You can access Power BI for free, and Tableau Public is free. So either one would be good to kind of start in, I think. But if you get really good in one, it kind of gives you ideas of how to. It helps you know what you're trying to do. So if it makes it a little easier to transition if you're really good in one.
Yeah. So you're basically building mental models of how to analyze data. And then it doesn't matter the tool. It just matters, do you understand the business need, the data associated, and how to use the data to better solve the business problem? So that's what I'm trying to teach you guys right now. It's just throwing like a bunch. How many case studies have we worked through? Like 6 at this point?
Yeah, so...
Yeah,
5
something like that.
6, yeah, 5
or 6, yeah. It's
Okay.
been more, yeah, because sometimes we do like 2 a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, essentially, and actually, I would love Dan and Kinsley, your thought on this. So I'm designing this apprenticeship program almost like a condensed MBA. So Kinsley, did you have Gorgea, by the way?
I did.
Yeah, he was wild.
Oh yeah.
So he was our supply chain teacher. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling data from marketing, sales, product design, ERP, supply chain. So like all these different types of data sources and then case studies within that. So it's not necessarily like you get a full 4-month course on supply chain and then a full 4-month course on marketing. But you get one case study within each of those. And then what I'm kind of trying to do is have you guys get a feel, do you like this kind of work? Are these interesting business problems? And then you can start to kind of guide from there. What do you guys, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, I think I like that because like if you're not energized by the work that you're doing, you're going to burn out really, really quickly. I learned within a 6-month phase that finance and sales weren't where I was energized. I came from people data or HR data prior to, and for whatever reason, that was more tangible for me. So I learned that it wasn't a fit. So I think having those experiences and exposures earlier on would allow you to dabble before you make a commitment to the workforce.
That's great. It also makes you flexible. Getting exposure to different industry use cases is going to make you better prepared to participate in any of those.
Yeah. Well, so Dan, you just finished up a Master's of Analytics program, right?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more? Like, what was that? You said it was way more intense. Well, the other master's program was what? It was music.
Well,
education?
I had a bachelor's of music education, master of arts and training and development, and this master of science and business analytics. So, it was much more of a hard skills degree, hard/soft, like a double-decker taco, hard and soft at the same time, crunchy and soft. So yeah, my master's program, we focused on the different types of analytics processes. So descriptive analytics to kind of explain what has gone on, what is going on, just kind of describing what we're seeing. Predictive analytics, trying to predict the future and forecast things. And then prescriptive analytics, focusing on solving specific business problems and optimizing scenarios. We worked in our studio, so that's one of the languages we haven't really mentioned, but our studio, Tableau, Excel, and SQL. It's important to understand basic SQL syntax. And yeah, we used a lot of different use cases. It was an industry agnostic program, so we pulled from different data sets and used the same general practice to go through the data set, try and gain some type of measurable insight, and then communicate that through a visualization.
Gotcha. Follow-up question. So Leombe here is fixated on Python. What is your advice for someone trying to get into the coding space? I mean, he texted me about Python probably 2 or 3 times a day. It's a problem.
Yeah, Python's great. I mean, there seem to be 2 camps in this programming language battle, R versus Python. And businesses, I will say, I think I tend to see Python used in businesses more often than R. R is used a lot in academia and research. But I prefer R myself just because to me, it's so much more visual. The setup of our studio, I can always see my scripts, I can see the console, I can see my objects, I can see my directory. It's very comfortable because I can see everything there. And when I'm in Python, I've worked a little bit in Python, and it doesn't seem as visual to me. You can make it visual for yourself, but it's not naturally as visual as our studio is, from what I've seen. But there are things you can do in Python you can't do in R, and vice versa. So I would a good resource for learning Python or R is Data Camp. I don't know if you've heard of that before, but it's a really good resource, and it's not that expensive for a year membership, and they have really, really good videos to help you kind of learn either of those languages.
Yeah, I have Data Camp, and I have Zero to Mastery. It just takes you from not knowing a thing to being able to be pretty good at Python.
Great. Yeah. There's a whole bunch of resources out there. A lot of free content too.
Gotcha.
Well, yeah. So on the back of that, John David, this is actually a question for you. Can we go through some? Because Leombe and I both talked about like the financial space and what Kinsley said. You got to figure out what works for you. So can we go through some more like financial and banking type case studies as well as supply chain? Because I think we touched on the supply chain one, and it was a lot more intricate and a little bit more difficult for me, at least thinking about it. So just to see what that looks like.
Yeah, well, I mean, on the next live stream, we go over the ERP data.
The ERP data,
cool.
Yeah, because that one is so.
I like that one.
Yeah. That's modeled after the longest consulting client I have, where I've built out their Tableau infrastructure, where they're connecting to 4 different data sources. I've had to figure out how to fit them together and then build out a visualization.
All right, cool.
It's like it's a much stripped down version because like over the past 5 years, we just keep like adding on things to it. But I'll have to look into finance data because I am not a finance bro, believe it or not. I don't know if you can believe that.
I don't believe it.
But Naveed, well, one of my good friends who, Gavin, you met Naveed.
Yeah.
He's in the financial space, so he may be able to like carve us out a case study, not with his bank data, but maybe go online and find some.
Okay.
Because I don't even really know. I know a lot of financial analysts do work in Excel, which is weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've known senior financial analysts who just do like pivot charts all day long, which I don't know. I mean, it's not my taste. I like the Tableau work, but yeah, we can look into that.
Good deal.
What? I'm getting a weird chat. What does this mean? Sweet mother of God is perfect. Interesting. Apparently, she likes the different phases of our beards. We're live streaming on Twitch as well, so you never know.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Twitch is wild.
On that note, it's getting a little late, guys.
All right.
Let's kind of wrap it up. Does anybody have like any kind of closing thoughts or questions?
Dan, oh yeah, Dan, can you post? You said there's a couple things. I know you said data camp, but there was a couple other things that you mentioned, like resources and stuff, like the case studies that they get posted and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Can you actually? I'm gonna connect with you on LinkedIn, and if you could send those, I'd like to just give them a look.
Absolutely, yeah. I'll hit me up on LinkedIn. We'll
Me
connect
too.
and I'll share what I know.
Yeah.
All right, good deal.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Well, thank you, and everybody on the live chat. Thank you as well. This has been awesome. I'm really enjoying kind of these like. I think there need to be a little bit more structured, like today versus last week, where it's like here's the activity, and then we'll go off in the weeds. Because I mean, people have actually kind of stayed tuned in when we were like figuring out like how to group times of days. We were like problem solving, which I think is
people have to see that though. They have to see what some of data analysis looks like.
It's not pretty. It's not pretty.
Not always.
Hours on Google. Yes.
Stack Overflow. Yeah.
That's true. All right. Well, I'm going to be signing off. Thank you guys so much, and I hope you guys have a good night.
All right.
You too.
Thank you
Take
both
care,
for coming.
Thank
through.
you. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having me. I think it's been a fun experience. I appreciate it.
All right.
Take care.